Hello everyone. Welcome back to the channel. Miss Coffee here, and today we're back with something a little bit different. Now, I've been asked numerous times lately if I could do a video on how I blend alcohol markers, and I'm happy to oblige. Now, many of you know I just recently got that gigantic set of Ohuhu 320 markers, and that's what I'll be using for this video to show you how I blend alcohol markers. Now, I will tell you this, it does not matter the brand of marker you have. What matters is how you use them. And that goes with a lot of art supplies as well. It's not really you have to have the most expensive brands. You just have to know how to use them and manipulate them to work how you want them to work. Now, with that said, I have my Ohuhu markers up here, and I have a sheet of paper here that I'm going to show you how I tend to blend my markers. So the first thing you want to do is you want to pick out markers. Now, if you're someone who gets super overwhelmed by the amount of markers you have, try this trick. Take out 3 to 4 markers at a time and leave the rest alone. Close up the case that it came in. Don't even look at the other markers. Use those markers, and anytime you need to change colors, make sure you know which one you took and put in. You put one back, get one out. That way you're not getting overwhelmed by the sheer amount of markers you have. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick out 3 marker colors that I would like to show you how to blend. All right, so now that I have my colors picked out, I have a set of blue and a set of brown. So one's typically a darker color, one's typically can be a darker or a lighter color. So I've picked these. Now the ones I'm using are E170, which is Caribe Cocoa, Y12 Mahogany, and E130 Copper for the browns. For the blues, I'm using PB1 Sky Blue, PB2 Brilliant Blue, and PB4 Napoleon Blue. Okay, so we're going to get you down into the business, and I'm going to show you this quick little trick that I've learned. Now, again, remember, it's not the tools that you have, it's how to use them correctly. So how do I blend my markers? First things first, why did I pick 3? You want a high, medium, and low tone. So high tone, medium tone, light tone. So what we're going to do, and I always suggest that even if you're working in an adult coloring book or what have you, put down a scratched sheet of paper or something underneath your paper, because your markers are more than likely going to bleed, which is why it's important to find a nice toothy paper that can suck up that ink so it's not bleeding all over the place. So you want to make sure you find a good paper. Print your image out on, because a lot of the times adult coloring books don't come on the best paper. So if you're looking to keep and preserve your coloring book, buy yourself some cardstock from Walmart or whatever store you have near you. Buy you some good cardstock, and then we're going to show you, or I'm going to show you how I blend my markers. Now, again, keep in mind, I'm not a professional. I just know a little bit of everything. So here we go. So I'm going to use the chisel part of this brush. Now, this is a brush tip. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of make a circle, right? And this circle is just going to show you and to keep those streaks from happening when you color, you want to make sure, 1, don't pick up your pen a lot. 2, try to go back and forth motions or circular motions. Go in the same motion so that you don't get those streaky lines, right? So there's that one. Always have also on the side a sketch piece of paper just in case you need to test out which marker you want to use next. Because as you can tell, these two look a lot alike, but one is darker than the other one. So we're going to use this one, which is the mahogany. So I use the copper first, and now I'm going to go in with this mahogany. Now, typically with alcohol markers, you want to move kind of quick because you are trying to use the fact that it is an alcohol marker to blend it in. You need it to still be wet to blend it in really good. So we're going to use that. And then we're going to go in with that lighter tone at the end there. And this one is the Caribe Cocoa. And I'm just going to go over that line where the 2 colors meet. You see how easily that blended? Look at the blend. Just like here, look at how it blended and melted into that next color. You want to lay down your base color first and then go in with your medium tone and then your light tone. which is how I do it. I know there's other ways of doing it, and you choose what works right for you, because the way I do it might not work right for you, and that's okay. But there are other tutorials all over YouTube University that will show you different ways of going about this process. So feel free to peruse YouTube University when looking on how to work with your alcohol markers, because one person's way might not work for you. And then I'm going to come in with that lighter tone. I'm just going to kind of blend that down there. I'm going to come up here. I'm going to blend this up here. And look how dark it is, and I'm blending it out. And I tend to take my light color and go over it to get it to blend nicely. So you see how it's nice and blended in there. It might look a little muddy because of the colors, which is why I chose a different set of colors. Now, I'm going to show you that trick again, but I'm going to show it to you with the blue color. So we have a medium, light, and dark color for our blue. And again, I'm just going to draw a circle. Are we going to go out of the circle? More than likely, and that's okay. To prevent streaking, again, you're going to want to work at a decent pace, but don't go too fast. And this, I wouldn't do this. This does sometimes make streaks. So I would just go in a fluid back and forth motion. Make sure you're going in the same direction. Now we're going to take that medium tone marker. We're just going to get on the edge right there. Because we want to immediately blend that in, because while it's still wet, we want those two colors to mix to blend well together. So you want to make sure you work well with the markers so that they blend well together the first time. And then we have our light tone, which we're going to go in with the light tone right over where that one light medium tone started, and then we're going to go back and forth. And we're just going to go right over the top of that light blue again, so that we can get it to blend in nicely. And if it's not enough for you, you can just go in right where they meet and do small circles. And that will also get it to blend. So you see the gradient there? So we're going to go in. And I'm just doing circles for this one. And do you have to do this many layers? No, absolutely not. I'm just doing this many layers to show you guys how to get them to blend. So you do not need to do this many layers. But you will want to keep going until you get the blend that you want, okay? And say you were working on a picture and the color dried. So this is completely dry now. You can still blend those colors. You just have to work it a little bit harder, okay? So we're going to move that blue paper because I don't want to ruin the blue. So here's our blend. So we have our blue blend. And then we have our brown blend. And essentially, so there are your three colors there. And notice how I went over the top part of where I started to get that to blend in. Now, since a lot of you will be doing adult coloring, let's try this on an adult coloring page, shall we? Now, I have Hannah Lynn. This is an artist edition of this book. I typically don't color in these books, but I have like 2 of these, so I'm okay with it. So this is Sweet and Simple by Hannah Lynn. A lot of you already know who Hannah Lynn is. If you don't, HannahLynnArt.com. So we're going to find something super simple in here, and I'm just going to show you real quick how I do some blending. All right, and now since we've chosen a subject to color, first things first, if you're coloring in your adult coloring book, that's perfectly fine. Just make sure you put that bleed paper underneath so that if you have any issues, it's not going to bleed onto the next paper. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to fold this paper in half because this is a smaller book. I'm just going to tuck that in there right underneath there. Then you want to pick out the colors you want to use. Make sure you have a scrap piece of paper. You can even use that paper that you're using as a bleed cover for underneath, but I have an extra scrap paper right here, so we're just going to show you this here. So that's going to be like the base color there for her skin. You always want to plan out what colors you want to use. It's always good practice to make sure you plan that out, because if not, you could run into the having to wait for a long period of time. And if you want these to blend really nicely, you're going to want to make sure that you're already have your markers already out and planned out for you. So as you can see, I'm just doing small circles here to blend this out, and it looks like it's going to work. So all I did was take my light, medium, and dark tone and put them on there, and I already got this one to blend out. So here we go. We're going to do her skin. Now, I typically will start off with my base color, which for this, I'm doing Carmine Red. It says it's red. And then I'm just going to go in, and I prefer brush tip markers. Whether you have chisel or nib tip or brush tip, it doesn't matter. Whatever you like is the right tool for you. That's what you need to remember. Also, again, it doesn't matter the supply you use as long as you know what you're doing while you're using it. So I'm going to lay down this base color here first. And I'm doing circles, just getting it all in there. And I never knew about Hannah Lynn's images because they have that eyebrow or the cheekbone line there. And I'm not lifting my pencil, I'm just going all over. And I'm just filling in the base part of this. And I'm not going to color the whole thing. I'm just going to pretty much show you guys how to color in your images. So we have our face done, right? Next thing we're going to do, we're going to get that mid-tone color. And we're going to add a little bit of depth to it. So we're just going to add some right here around where her hair is. And then we're going to take that light color again, and we're just going to circle around the edges of it. So it gives it a little bit of a look there. And it might look a little crazy at first, but remember, it's got to get time to dry. Again, I'm just going to do circles. The circles will prevent it from streaking. I'm just going to lay another little coat down here. Make sure we got everything filled in. And then if you want a little bit more of shadowing, because you got her hair here, we're just going to come in with this color. Just a thin line around the edges here. We did the other line a little bit bigger, and that's okay. We're going to take that mid-tone color. We're going to come in again. And we're just doing circles around the edge of it. Because if you color the whole thing, obviously the whole thing is going to blend. And if that's what you want to do, that's fine too. But for this, I'm just going to color the edges of it just to get it to blend in with her skin. And as you can see, it's lightening up there. Again, you're going to give it some time to dry. And look how much depth that gave just that one piece of the image. So I put my base down, then my mid-tone, and then I go in with my darker tone. And again, I'm doing small circles around the edge of it, not the whole thing, just the edge. And there you go. So then now, let's color in the rest of her skin here. So we're just going to color this in. So blending markers is just a matter of layering. That's just, it's like making a sandwich. You want your bread first, which would be your base of your sandwich, and then you add, you know, your toppings or whatever, and then you add your base layer again. Now, in some places you can do that, but with markers, I tend to do, that's how I tend to blend my markers, is I tend to go in with my base layer first, then my mid-tone, then my darkest tone, and then my base layer again. The base layer will help even everything out. So I'm just going to color in the rest of her skin here. And again, you want to make sure you have that paper underneath, because look at that. Because you're working it in, it will bleed out a little bit. And this is actually pretty good paper, because that's all we got out of all that blending in, which is really, really good. So let's keep going with this. Now we're going to get our mid-tone color. I'm just going to go around the edges of her hair where there would be a shadow. I'm making this a little bit thicker, and because it is almost the same, it looks similar to the base, I'm going to do a little bit thicker. And then I'm going to go in with my darker tone to give it a slight tint to it. So we're just going to do a slight tint, and feel free to move your paper around. We're just going to do a light line all the way around. And then underneath here. Then we're going to go in with that mid-tone color. Let's blend it out. So we're just going to small circles. See how nicely that blended? Now again, this method might not work for you. You might have to try a different method. So don't get super frustrated if you try this and it doesn't work for you, or you don't get the results that you want. There are other tutorials out there. I actually have a second one, which I'm pretty sure I'm doing the exact same thing. But I have more tutorials than just this one. And there's other tutorials out there by artists and everything else that will show you how they blend their markers as well. And everybody has their own way of doing things, and you will find your way of doing it, whether it be this way or a different way. And now all I'm doing is taking that light tone and going over that base, or that mid and darker tone, to give myself some shadowing here. Oh, we forgot about that part in there with her hair. So we're going to go in with this color here. A little bit of this color. And notice how you're only seeing these three markers. I don't have, well, I have some markers over there, but I'm not using them. When you're doing this, you want to make sure that you're not overwhelming yourself with the colors, because I know that's a complaint that a lot of folks have, is that they get overwhelmed by the color choices. Try picking colors that you really like, or you think will look nice with the image, with the plan you have for the color scheme, and go with that. You can also look online for color schemes to see if you can find a really good color scheme. She's looking good so far. She's looking good. we doing good over here. So we're just gonna color in the little bit here to make that blend in so she's not so pale down there as well. We're just gonna do a little bit up here. And essentially you just take your marker and you're blending out the edges. Unless you want to go over the entire thing and blend it out, you just go over the edges. And you have to wait for it to dry. That's one tip that I will give you that I myself, when I first started adult coloring, couldn't figure out why it looked so crazy whenever I would color. You got to wait for it to dry. If you don't wait for it to dry, it's going to look a little crazy. So wait for it to dry. And even if you want to blend it out some more after it dries, just keep going over it. And look at the blending. Look at how nice and tan her skin looks. So it's literally as simple as taking 3 markers. I say 3 because I typically only do 3. Figure out what your base tone is. Figure out what your mid tone is. And notice I'm going in a little bit higher than starting at the edge there. And then take your darker tone. To prevent streaking, try to go in the same motion. Don't go super fast, but you don't want to go slow either. You just want to kind of have a nice little groove with your markers. Just have a nice little vibe sesh with your markers, okay? And if it's not blending as you would want it to, just small circles on the edge. Small circles on that edge. See how that nice and blended in there? I'll zoom you in a few minutes. We're going to blend that top one first. We're going to do the same thing here. I'm just going to go back and forth real quick. Back and forth. And then I'm just going to take it, and right where it meets, I'm going to blend it in real nice. Just circle it. We're going to give it a second to dry. I'm actually impressed with how good her skin tone looks. See, sometimes you'll surprise yourself. But do keep in mind that it's not the art supply you have. So whether you have anything from Crayola to Arteza to Art and Fly to Prisma to Copic to Ohuhu to whatever marker brand you have, it's all in how you use them. So don't feel like you need to go out and buy the latest, greatest. You just want to make sure you have some good paper and just know what you're doing. And with this method, I feel like it's great for beginners because it gives you the result that you're looking for. So you see how it's nicely melted into them? That's essentially what you want, okay? So that is how I blend my markers. And you can even take that lighter tone because that line there looked a little harsh. You can take that lighter tone and blend it in some more if you want. That way, now it really melted into there. Sorry, there's a picture on the edge, the end, or behind this. Now it's really melted into there, and that's how it looks. And this is how the blue looks that we blended earlier. So, yeah. For blending, pick 3 colors, light, medium, dark tone. Then you're going to want to blend them together. Sorry, it's got a crease in it now because I folded it in half. And that one there, how it blended together. And that is how I blend my alcohol markers. Now, if you have any more questions about how to blend your alcohol markers, please, please, please feel free to put those down in the comment section of this video, and I will do my best to get back to you as soon as I possibly can. Now, keep an eye out because their next video we will be doing with adult coloring supplies will be how to blend color pencils without solvents, which means without Vaseline, Gamasol, or any of the other tips that people give you. We're going to try to blend them with just pure elbow grease. So with that said, keep an eye out for that video. But until next time, guys, I hope you guys stay safe out here in these crafty streets. Please remember to wear a mask, wash your hands, don't touch your face in public because that's gross. Keep your 6 feet and always try to remember to be kind to others because you never know what somebody else is going through. Be courteous because it's the right thing to do, and always stay cool. Bye, guys.